it's Carmel Van Niekerk, and today on our Learning from Leaders, we get to speak to Michael Silva from TabletPOS. It's very exciting because Michael is the founder of TabletPOS, which has been going for a number of years now, and we get to speak to him today. Hi, good day. Carmel Van Niekerk here, and today we're speaking to Michael from TabletPOS. And Michael, welcome. This webinar is just for people who are launching apps or software as a service, and they're wanting to learn about people who've gone before them in the industry, just so that they can accelerate their journeys. So do you mind just sharing your personal story and the story of TabletPOS for us, please?
Cool. So TabletPOS was actually an accidental company. I used to work for another company from about 99 onwards, and we got bought out by a listed company. And then towards the end of the career, I actually left that company, and TabletPOS actually fell in my lap, whereby tablets were brand new in the world and weren't prevalent in South Africa. And a friend of mine who owns a pub in Verbio in Switzerland phoned another friend of mine and said, "You've got to look at this. This is amazing." So I had a look at it. I thought, wow, let's just give it a bash and see what happens. I'm cutting a very, very long story short. And it was tough going in the beginning. Tablets in South Africa were a non-essential or non-competitive product. Everyone was so used to bulky PC equipment. And whenever I went up against them, they said, "Michael, I've got a server here. I've got a server that's like 20 gigs and it's this and it's that." And I'm going, a tablet is just as powerful, if not more. So it took a while to win them over. But once I started winning them over, the floodgates just opened. And now everyone is talking tablets and cloud-based. And so we're in the right space now. But 5-6 years ago, it was tough going.
So is that when you launched, like 6 years ago?
Yes, 6 years ago, I launched in my study. I launched by myself. I did all the sales, all the installations myself. I did the training myself. And all I wanted in those days, was I just told my wife, I just want 30, 40 customers. I just want to make a living and just type things over. And then before I knew it, we were getting some big name dropping customers. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Sorry. We've got some big name dropping customers, and from there it just started rolling on. And before I knew it, we were 30, and then we were on 100, and now we're at 1,300 odd sites nationwide. We operate in about 7 or 9 other countries in Africa. We've got a big footing in Mauritius. Just opened a branch in Australia and opened a branch in Tanzania to look after the Middle East. Middle part of Africa.
So how did you know it was going to work? When you said it just landed in your lap, how did you actually know it was definitely going to work, especially for the South African market, who was so far behind at that stage and who still is a bit behind?
No, I didn't know it was going to work. I'll be honest. I was desperate in those days. I was a desperate entrepreneur. And it was out of desperation that I basically made it work. But I didn't know. It wasn't an aha moment and said, "That's the way and this is going to work." But when I started speaking to people, I was saying, it's such a great product, and it's such an easy product to take on, and such an easy product to learn. I kind of thought, this could get somewhere. Initially, my target customer was a very small single point of sale environment, like a coffee shop, nothing big like a big restaurant or a big 20 or 30 device point of sale environment. When we installed at a big bar in Cape Town, they had 25 devices. And then I knew I could compete with the big boys in South Africa that have been around for 28, 30 years. Now I'll take on any big boy in South Africa, no problem. We can compete with them head on. We've got the products, I've obviously got the national footprint, but the product is now so solid, it can compete head on with the big boys.
Wow.
So to answer your question, no, I didn't know.
So then, from when you only wanted like 40 customers in the beginning, who was your ideal customer? You kind of touched on it saying it was like just small coffee shops. Like, who is has it changed much, or do you still service small coffee shop places like that?
It's changed dramatically. So initially, obviously I thought, because it's mobile based, it lends itself to coffee shops, microbreweries and wine farms. Why? Because it's mobile. So when a coffee shop installs, they also like to go to craft markets for beers, and for weekend stalls. And it's easy. Just take your iPad, your iPhone, and you can still do sales, and it still updates the client. So I knew that was my entry point into the market. So and today, I'd say my footprint is tier ones. A tier one is a one point of sale environment. The rest is tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, which is 2 or 3 or 4 or 7 or higher point of sale environments. But recently, our bigger markets, our big sit-down restaurants. In fact, we've just signed one of the biggest, without getting the cat out of the bag, one of the biggest sit-down restaurant groups in South Africa. Okay. It's about 600 to 800. Obviously, this whole situation that's happened in the last 2 weeks has slowed it down completely. Yes. But we've been given the go-ahead. So as soon as we're out of the stage, I will almost double my user base just by taking on one of them, that group on board. And they're already talking about the second group to come on board. So they got, under their brand, they've got about 17 different groups in them. And I've signed up one of the groups. And they're very keen to go mobile across the whole group. So that in itself is testament that we are stepping up from a small, no disrespect to a small coffee shop environment to a big sit-down, drive-through environment that we can comfortably handle that.
And so going from such a small environment to such a huge environment, like if you had to do it again back 5 years ago, how would you suggest to someone who's doing something similar? Like, would they just test it and perfect it with a couple of customers, or should they ask more people and just try expand as quick as possible? What would you say?
It's a very difficult question to answer. So I've spoken to a lot of guys in this industry. In actually, before I started, I spoke to one of my opposition point of sale CEOs, and I sat down and I said, listen, my name's Michael, I'm brand new to this industry, could I ask you some advice? And they said, yeah. And we sat down and had a cup of coffee, and he said to me, Michael, you're crazy. Are you mad? You're crazy. I've been in the industry for 28 years. Don't bother. There's 17 other point of sales. You're so behind in the times. But what I did have is I had bleeding edge technology. No one had mobile. So I knew I had the edge on everyone. All I needed to do was just find a little foothold. And I've run businesses before. And I've also run businesses with really good partners. And I've learned a hell of a lot from them. So I knew that if I just got the product off the ground, I could grow it. I also didn't envisage that I'd grow it nationally. But the supply and the demand, so I started getting customers in Joburg, and it was a hell of a thing getting on a plane and flying up to Joburg and doing installation. So I knew I needed to expand. So every time we got a new area, I had to expand. So it wasn't something that I wanted to do. Again, it was very accidental. It fell on my lap, and we started getting customers all over the country. So by virtue of the product being so good and word of mouth, we started growing in the country. But it wasn't something I decided on. It was just basically I was forced into it.
Amazing.
by this.
You're the complete opposite to everyone else. They've all developed and wanted to really grow, and you just landed something that people were asking for. I think it's also so nice to talk to you because you didn't develop the product. You got someone. Am I correct in understanding? You took a product that was overseas and you basically got the rights to sell it in South Africa and now abroad.
So basically, I've got the rights to the whole of SADC, so all the countries in Africa. And luckily I did that because this group that I spoke about, they're very prevalent into Middle Africa. And I've already started speaking to the vertical head for Africa. And she's very keen on us rolling out in another group, also part of the under the umbrella, and that's very exciting. So I'd never want to go into Africa. I'd never want to go to Kenya or Tanzania. There's just so much business in South Africa. Why go and spread yourself thin? But again, the demand, we were at Hostix and this group walked by and they said, oh, this is interesting. And then they chatted to us and then, and that was 2 years ago. And then we did a proof of concept for 7 months. That was stressful. They're over the moon with us. They couldn't understand how easy it was to roll out menus, to maintain their back office, to do stock control. They couldn't believe how easy it was compared to the incumbents legacy-based point of sale that are around right now. So again, it wasn't me going out saying I'm the best. It was just the customers coming back to me saying, you're actually quite good. This is actually quite a decent product.
So tell me, when you did that 7 months of proof of concept, was that like the right amount of time? How did you say? Did you say we're going to do it for 7 months, or did you just do it for as long as?
They wanted to do it for a short period, for like 3 months, but it was very close to Christmas and it was very busy. So they also said they didn't want to make a decision in December, so they also to extend it, and they eventually made a decision in February. So it was really exciting. I flew up and I met the CEO, and we met the whole the exco at the board and everything. And they said, "Look, Michael, how do we go about getting this off the ground?" And it was very exciting. It was a very life-changing morning to fly up, have a meeting, and then fly back, and very exciting. But again, that very little to do with my decision. It was all. It just happened that they did a proof of concept over the December period, and it just got so busy. And it stood it stood the test. We stood one of the very busiest stores in Joburg, and then we installed it the guy owns another store. It's also got a drive-through, and it worked perfectly. And the guy was over the moon. So
it all just snowballed the whole time.
Correct. It just kept on snowballing. I mean, I'm also very fortunate in that my previous company, I had some really good mentors, really good partners who I'm still very close to, and I still speak to quite often. I still bounce off ideas with them. And when I say they're mentors, two or three of them specifically were like really good mentors. And that I never knew in those days, but I was actually training to run the business that I'm running right now. I never knew that being partners in a different business and doing a completely different product enabled me to start up. When I say started from small and then expanded to where we employ 48 staff now, and we've got 5 branches around the country. And we're doing, I'd say we're doing, pretty good turnover, and all pretty fortunate. I've learned a lot. I'm also very, very grateful. I've got some really good staff. So that's one of the things I've always had. I've always had a good relationship with my staff. So in all my companies, all my staff know that staff is number one, the company customers is number 2, and then automatically we'll make money. So and a point of phrase, and all my staff love it, is let's have fun in spite of making money. So everyone knows, yeah. So every 6 weeks we always have a function, we always have a social. We've got a buying office, and we're always doing something, and we're making money.
Wow. Okay. So when you were, how did you manage to find the right people? Because if you were going from so small and now you've got 48, how do you find those people who've got the skills that you don't?
I poached them from my previous company.
Right.
So I poached them from my previous company, and they have a lot of friends and family, and I'm very strong on basically in my company we've got so many family members, cousins, friends of friends. So it's very seldom do we actually go put out CVs and employ people and do interviews. I normally just go to my staff and I say, we need another support techie. Have you got a friend? Have you got a cousin? And they normally say, listen, this is the ethos of the company. This is the culture. This is what we're about. Do you want to join us? It's really good fun. Michael runs a really lacquer ship, and we have fun. We make money, and he looks after us. And so I don't even have to go and sell the company on myself. Normally the guys come and normally they phone me, so Michael, if you've got a position, please, I'm keen to start. So that is a big bonus. And then obviously from the previous company, obviously I knew all of them. So it was, I wouldn't say very easy bringing them across. Sometimes I'd have to phone them and say, like, I can't afford you right now. Can I pay you 2/3 of your salary? But I promise, give me 6 months, and then give me a year, I'll put you back on the same salary, and then we'll grow together. So I started employing some of my old staff members at less than what they were earning. But again, it stands to test that they actually trusted in me and trusted in the business, that they came across at a lesser salary. And right now, some of them are the highest positions in the company.
Sure. It's just such a different way to go around everything.
Yes, I'm not a normal boss. I'm not a normal CEO. I'd rather spread all the love. I'd rather spread all the load and give a lot of responsibility out to the guys that run the different branches. And I want them to be responsible. I always tell them, if you make a decision and it's wrong, I won't spank you, but don't make the same mistake twice. So you've got to live and learn, and you do it together. So I try and create a culture of we're doing it together. The guys that are in senior position must filter that down. We do a lot of things that are very different. I'll give you an example, an incentive we've created for all our staff. Once per quarter, they're allowed to go eat at any one of my customers, as long as they go and take photos of the restaurant, take photos preferably of the waiters, of the owners, and post it to Facebook, on their Facebook and our Facebook, and I'll pay towards the meal. I mean, so that's completely. It's not a petrol claim. It's not a bonus. It's not a benefit. It's just me trying to support my customer at the same time, making sure my staff are supporting my customers and having fun at the same time.
Yeah,
having fun is fun.
I see this. It's like you're building like a whole ecosystem of like a family, and your clients are part of that. That's so good. So if you had to try and help someone who was bringing out an app or software or starting their business as a tech entrepreneur, what advice would you give them to accelerate and get not necessarily profitable, but get as much revenue in as possible?
You've got to believe in your product. I believed in Ikentu, the product we sell. It's actually just recently been bought out by Lightspeed. I don't know if you can see an insignia. I believed in the product. I was very fortunate in that the product was good. There were lots of other products around the world, but Ikentu was definitely the strongest product there was, and I really, really believed in the product. So you have to believe in it all day, all night. It's got to be your bread and butter. So for me, whenever there was a problem and the customer blamed the software, and I said, it just can't be. I mean, if there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 other customers using it, it has to be something user input area. It has to be so. I always believe in the product. I install that in everyone, and I said it's the best product in the world, and blah blah blah. And we would always emphasize that right through. So even when we're selling, even when we're supporting it, it's just such a fun lack of product to support. So you've got to believe in it. Try and make it as fun as possible for your staff or yourself, or the customer to utilize it. A lot of my customers will say it is such an easy UI, it's such an easy beautiful looking little app that you could, and I'm saying, but it's functional. It's got a function. It is a point of sale. Yes, it might look pretty, but it's absolutely functional. When you go and place it next to a legacy-based point of sale, you cannot compare the difference. One is like almost character-based, it's so old, compared to the one that is so gooey and so beautiful UI. It just makes a world of difference. So believe in your product without a shadow of doubt. If you don't believe in it, improve on it and believe in it. But if you don't believe in it, then you're obviously in the wrong game.
Yeah, sure. And so what was and what is the biggest challenge for people who are launching tech in South Africa, do you think?
So we're still a very third world country. We'd like to think we're a first world country in Africa, but we're far away from that. In Europe, you can launch tech products today and tomorrow make quite a lot of money, and the next day be bought out and sit back and relax. Europe or first world countries, they lean on e-commerce. They lean on apps. It's what they live for. You could land in Switzerland. You can download an app. You can catch a train, or you can rent a car. You can go to a parking bay and jump out the car, and the app will say that it'll start ticking off and paying and charging your credit card. You can go park next and drive to another town, park again, and it already builds your credit card. I mean, that is first world progressive technology. It's out of this world. There's so much. We're so far behind the world. So any product you bring into South Africa that no one's heard of, you've got an edge already. Any product that you create in South Africa that is first in the world, and you're in South Africa, you've got an extra edge of note. So products like Zappa was between first and second of its kind between Zappa and SnapScan, and they were kind of the first in the world, and that's why they expanded. So we have the potential to create first world products. You just need to find that product, find that idea, and run with it.
Sure. So how do you keep relevant then in your industry?
Very good question. Very good. So in my industry, hospitality, there's so many things going on the peripheral. We sell a point of sale package, but now there's drive-throughs. Now there's a kiosk. Now there's order in, Uber Eats, order online. And then there's very advanced stock control modules. And there's many other modules. Now, because we're app-based and we've got an API, it's extremely easier for us to stay relevant compared to a PC-based, legacy-based point of sale. So if I go find the best stock control product in Europe, I bring it to South Africa with an API, we integrate with my product, I've really got a heads up. So my core focus is point of sale, but I've got a really good stock control product that I've clipped on. So to stay relevant, all I do is I just find where the market's moving, and I find the best app that fits best of breed, fits that niche, and I clip it onto my product. So at this point in time, we don't only sell a point of sale. We sell a point of sale, a stock program, an ordering program. I'm busy bringing in a kiosk module that will integrate deeply into our product because of this big brand we're busy working with. We've got a stock scheduling module. Yeah, no brands. So scheduling module. And it all clips on. So if you only want a point of sale, you can use it and you can run with it. If you want a staff scheduling module, you can clip it on and use it. So where most of the other point of sale brands will try and design everything themselves, lose focus on what they call niches, point of sale, and then have a mediocre stock control application, a very mediocre supplier invoicing application, or a very strong accounting debtors application. So they'll have swings and roundabouts where I like to bring the best of breed of every single niche and just clip it on. So that makes me always be relevant.
Wow, that's such a good answer. Sounds like you've got the ideal business.
Well, I hope so.
So how did you finance it in the beginning then?
All by myself. I didn't pay myself a salary for a long time. I pulled staff across I couldn't afford.
But like, do you have money saved up from your old company where you were an employee, or did you get investments?
No, so luckily I didn't delve into my investments. I had my retirement annuity which I cashed out, and I basically financed the company. I knew I had about 6 to 8 months of retirement annuity to survive on, and lucky within 3 to 4 months we cracked it. And after 5 months, I started paying myself a salary, and obviously, the staff never ever not got paid a salary. And we grew from 3 staff members to 48 staff members now. So yeah, I wouldn't advise it. It's really stressful on yourself.
Yeah.
If you can get if you can get a nice angel we actually got a 1 round of angel investment after the first year. I forgot that.
Did you have to prove how much did you have to prove your model or revenue before they would invest in you?
No, it was very easy. All I did is I just phoned them, told them what I've got, tell them where I envisage the company is going to be in 5 years' time. I believe I showed them the product, and I said, look, guys, I can't show you figures. We only got like 20 customers, and that's what it is. But I believe in 3 years we'll be at this, in 5 years we'll be at this. If you want to invest, here's the percentage, and here's the amount, and within a day, I got 800,000 Rand investment within 1 day of just phoning some friends and family.
Wow! So was it a South African investor?
All of them are South African investors, yes.
Wow. Okay. Because it seems that a lot of people find it difficult to find South African companies to invest. unless they've got a
Probably
lot of revenue.
the one individual was so keen, he even got his wife to invest as well. So that evening, I was trying to have supper, and he phoned me about 15 times, and I eventually answered. And he says, like, listen, I know I wanted one, but I want two. My wife's going to invest as well. And before the end of the day, they deposited the money in my account, and they've been on board. And they've been extremely happy, and they've loved the growth. And yeah, so just, again, it's not something I really looked at. Someone said angel investment. I thought, well, let me just try it out. And I phoned a couple of people, or 3 people, and I got 5 investors.
Wow.
It was just very lucky.
Sure.
Not something I looked.
So, Michael, if you had to give one piece of advice besides getting revenue in, it seems like fun is the most important quality for your company. Like, if people are having fun, they'll make money. What would you say to a technical entrepreneur who's trying to launch their product into the market?
It's a very difficult question. I've never really. So all what's happened to me is all just by accident and by necessity. I didn't intend to launch a product. I did it to try and make a living. So it's a very difficult one for me to answer.
Okay.
And have relevance to someone that actually intends doing it. I would say find a product. I would say also have mentors. Have a mentor that you can bounce ideas off. That might not be in your industry. Might be in a lot of my mentors are not in my industry at all. So out of my 2 or 3 mentors, they're not in my industry. So when I speak to them, they are absolute fresh bouncing boards.
Yeah.
So that, I'll be honest, one of the biggest things that helped me a lot is me. I read excessively. I read a lot of books. And I do very, very strange reading, very different types of reading, from fiction to lifestyle. And also, this is going to sound weird, I also watch a lot of docus. There's many little wisdoms you can pick up on that. I'll give you an example. Just 2 days ago, I was looking at Alex Ferguson. He's a famous Man United football coach. And one of the things he said is that if you had a team and there was 1 or 2 players that weren't focused on going in the same direction he was, he would get rid of that 1 or 2 players and he'd move on. It would, and irrespective, there was a senior player, a junior player, you didn't want to lose focus on wasting energy trying to get them to not look that way, but look that way. And that for me was very powerful. I actually took a clip of that and I sent it to one of my managers saying, what do you think of this? So I find a lot of relevance in a lot of variety of things that apply to my thought process of what I'm trying to achieve. So I don't know if I've answered the question, but
I actually think what you said is quite good though, because people need to get mentors. Because sometimes if the people who are very technical don't ask the customers and they don't get outside perspective, they live in their own world and then they think everyone wants the product and not necessarily so. And then they've spent all that time and money developing,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite good.
If you're a programmer, you have like higher, more qualified programmers to chat to. We've employed, we poached one of the head programmers from a big e-commerce site, and he came across. And he's been brilliant. And whenever I speak to other people, I say, please, can we chat to you? Because he knows about 5 or 6 different languages, programming languages, which is really cool. So we could do different things, and he could go and do different facets of it, and it's amazing. So whenever I speak to someone, he says, no, you can only speak one language. I said, I'm not checking him out. We've done this and this and this. And he goes, like, how? And I said, no, this guy, well, can I speak to him? Like, yeah, with pleasure, phone him and have a chat to him. So you always need to be able to bounce off someone who's got a little bit more experience than you, even if they're not in the same industry as you. My mentors are very absolute common sense guys. They will go like, yeah, Michael, it doesn't sound right. Irrespective, if I think it's a winner, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a winner. And he goes, no. Okay, let me get some more. It's very nice to just bounce it off. And they're very common sense related type of people.
Yeah. Well, that's
And by the way, both are very successful in their own rights. They're extremely successful in their own right. They've got their own like proper businesses and they're doing really well. So I'm very fortunate in that they still take the time, still communicate with me, still tell me that Michael, that's not on, or Michael, do it, try it, give it a bash, So I'm very, very fortunate that I've had them. But I've also, I've also maintained and looked after the relationship. Whenever I see them, I'm always very complimentary of our relationship, and very, very humble that they still maintain our relationship with each other.
Yeah, it's very kind of them.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for coming and speaking today. It's so nice to hear. In fact, it's just so nice to hear that someone just wants to have fun first and people first, and then actually afterwards the money does come. And you are very fortunate that you just happened to land a good opportunity at the time that you did. So anyway,
Yes,
and
I am.
all the best for your new rollout. It sounds exciting, and I'm sure we'll keep up to date.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Cheers.
Yeah.